Today I'll be interviewing John Stiffy, coach and one of the earliest adopters of neurofeedback, helping individuals find their way in life. John, thank you so much for being here today. I've known you over the years. You were one of the very first leaders when it came to topics like biofeedback, neurofeedback, coaching and helping people through dark times. I'm fascinated by your story. Tell me a little bit about the story and the journey and how you've become, over the last few years, focused on a way of living.
I'm 69, so what's happening now, I'm kind of thinking back on the past, doing a little bit of writing. I was a hippie back in the old days, and the interesting thing was, when I was a teenager, I was doing some drinking, I was doing some drugs, marijuana and stuff like that. And I happened to be visiting my sister, who was living in Florida at the time. And we'd been smoking grass every night and so on. And then one day I woke up and I was sitting on the edge of the bed and I said to myself, if I continue on like this, when I'm 27, I'm going to have nothing. And my friends who decided to do something will have something. My mother was also an alcoholic and she quit drinking. And she helped me get into a treatment center. Mm-hmm. And then I got in the treatment center and quit the drinking, and they suggested at the time, John, why don't you become a therapist? You're good at what you do. When I was about 40, my drinking had increased because what happened was I'd quit smoking. Yeah. And then I had to do a lot of events. So I would go to the events and I'd be going, what am I going to do? I want to have a cigarette. So I started doing more of this. And then my mother came to visit, and my mother said to me, and she said, John, I want to go back home. I want to leave. Mm-hmm. Because she says, you are threatening my sobriety. Now, she didn't do it for me. She did it for herself. Yeah. But it had an effect on me. It made me think. I got rejected from my mother. And so I quit drinking, went to AA on a regular basis, started reading every book you could. I was highly motivated. The other motivation is I didn't want to lose my family. It was a great motivation. But I wanted peace of mind. That was the key. Then I got into neurofeedback.
Why is that so important for other people? Why and what kind of help are you giving to other people now?
Well, like as I said, I got into the neurofeedback, and one of the things with the neurofeedback, the key was self-regulation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was in AA, and they talked a lot about letting go. And then when I did the neurofeedback, and I did a thing called alpha theta training, and what happened was, it's an indication, and you go back, you lay back, and it'll indicate when you're in different states. And there's what we call an alpha state, and then a theta state. When you're in theta, then you're in a lower state. And so I'm doing this thing, somebody's working with me on it, and so I'm listening, and it's indicated by sound of water on a creek or water on or waves on a beach. Those were the two indicators, and the waters on the beach is when you're low. So I get this sound, and I'm laying back, I get the sound of the water on the beach. And I say to myself, oh, this is where I am, this is where I'm supposed to be. And boom, I'm out of it. And I got the message. And I realized the first half of my life was full of fear, right? I was so afraid of what people were thinking. I had to have the best clothes, the best dishes. And now I think one of the biggest messages that I can have is, and I have it on my WhatsApp, a picture of a person going like this and the chains are broken. Whereas the other half was I let go of that fear, and what is life all about? It's really having some peace.
How are you helping others overcome their anxieties and their fears and their dark times? How are you going about doing that?
What I found in my work with the neurofeedback, one of the keys was also talking about my experiences. I realized that with the neurofeedback, I could put people in a state, and they would feel, oh, great. But they would go back out, and especially I worked with children. And the children would come to me, I would calm them down, and then I would send them back home to that crazy atmosphere, which would bring them back to that state again. And it was very defeating. So what I had to do was I realized is that the second process, which people don't realize, is that they have to learn, what do I need to do? And it was about self-regulation, independence. What do I need to do to keep myself in those states? You know, we can become dependent on the neurofeedback, and I can make the money and stuff like that. And I often tell people that my success is when you don't have to come back and see me anymore.
Yeah, and that's a great success. And maybe building then on successes, what would you say over the last 5 or so years have been your greatest personal successes?
Well, I need to tell you, it's interesting during these past couple of years with the pandemic. I've had some people call me, send me messages, and saying, thank you. You helped change my life.
So I know one of the topics you're passionate about is people helping each other. So explain that a little bit to me. What do you mean by that?
Well, what I call is, basically I call it support and encouragement. So you support your people, so especially within my family, you support them, and then to encourage people. Yeah. And what I find now, just practicing a little in a restaurant, I'll say, you did a great job. Thank you so much. The response is a big smile from ear to ear. It's phenomenal.
So let me summarize a bit, because you've talked so much good input that you've said. So, when people are struggling with fears, anxieties, burnout symptoms, whatever it might be, they're in that trap of life, then you can help them through that process. First of all, by being relatable, because you've been there yourself. You can use some of the biofeedback and the neurofeedback techniques, understanding the state of the brain, so that they can, first of all, identify when they're triggered a little bit, how they can recover from that, and then almost build the training so that they learn how to do that themselves independently, so that they don't need to keep coming back for help and support and the coaching that you give them. What might be a few kind of final words of wisdom?
The whole purpose is then they've got to develop, and I've got to help them develop a way of living. It's not my way of living. It's not the Christian way. It's not whatever way. Is that my whole objective is that they find a way of living that is the best for them. Because each one of us is different. What applies for me may not apply for you, and vice versa, or anybody else. So that's my goal, to help people, is really to find their way that is best for them.
John, fantastic. So much rich insight to find people's own way of living with that. Thank you so much for coming in and spending some time with me today. Always an incredible conversation that we have. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for inviting me.
You were on fire at the end of that. That was amazing.